place your child feels safest online is actually where predators feel safest too. That statement, it might feel extreme, but I need you to sit with it for a second. I know it's an unsettling thought, but let me share with you why this is so important. Because the biggest danger kids face online today isn't necessarily a dark web chat room or a shady app you've never even heard of. It's games that look bright, colorful, and child-friendly. It's the ones that feel wholesome. It's Minecraft, Animal Jam, it's Roblox, games that we trust, games we see other parents allowing, games that even get used in classrooms. And that's exactly why they are so dangerous. Hi, I'm Alicia Kozak. I was the first child abducted by an internet predator, and for over 20 years, I've made it my mission to protect families from the evolving dangers online. From speaking in schools to educating the public through the media, from working with law enforcement to shaping critical legislation, I've dedicated my life to making the digital world safer. And I can tell you, without a doubt, predators go where the children are. Today, they're not just on shady websites. They're in the worlds your children play in every single day. This is how predators blend in so effectively. They don't appear with obvious red flags waving them around. They show up where kids are already comfortable, where kids see other friends or classmates, and that's how trust starts to build. What makes this conversation so tricky is that these games don't look dangerous at all. Minecraft, for example, is used in schools for STEM learning. Roblox let kids build their own games, encouraging creativity and problem solving. Animal Jam teaches kids about animals and nature. These are not violent shooter games. There's no blood, no weapons, just animals, avatars, cute things, and endless pixelated fun. But here's the thing. These games, they're also social networks, and they come with live chat, direct messaging, friend requests, and custom avatars. And that's what opens the door, not just to innocent connections, but to manipulation, grooming, and to possible abuse. For lots of parents, this all might sound familiar, but in a very different way. We remember games like Webkinz, Club Penguin, and Neopets. Do you remember those things? And they felt like magical escapes. We'd rush home from school to check on our pets, we'd decorate our igloos, and we'd play mini games with our friends. And it all felt really innocent, and mostly it was. But even then, the risks were already beginning to form. While Club Penguin, it had live chat features. Neopets had message boards and guilds. Webkinz allowed private messaging with friends once you exchanged the codes. And back then, moderation did exist, but it wasn't foolproof. There were reports of older users pretending to be kids, people who slipped through filters, and there were rumors that were true sometimes of kids being lured into private conversations or being exposed to inappropriate content through these seemingly safe games. But the big difference is that back then, these risks were so much slower. They were less connected and they were harder to scale. Today, it's instant. Children can go from chatting with a stranger to being on a third party or voice app in just minutes. The platforms are more immersive, the access points wider, and the tactics are so much more advanced. So if you were thinking, I played games like this when I was that age and I was fine, you're not wrong. But you're also not seeing the full picture of how the digital world has evolved. Today's online games are so much more than games, they're social ecosystems. And while they can be full of creativity and fun, they also come with doors that can open to very dark places. Let me give you an example. In Minecraft, players often join public servers to play with others from around the world. But many of those servers are unmoderated, or maybe they're lightly moderated. It doesn't take much for a predator to create a world and invite children into it, and begin conversations that quickly become inappropriate. They'll offer rare items, help build elaborate worlds, or invite kids to a secret game as a way to build loyalty and move conversations away from the public spaces. There have been so many cases where kids were lured into private chats, asked for pictures, or slowly manipulated over time to trust someone who absolutely should not have been trusted. And of course, it's not just Minecraft. Animal Jam, a game with adorable animal avatars and educational content, has also seen predators posing as kids. Despite having chat filters and moderation, there are always workarounds. Children are really smart and predators are patient. Some will use coded language or emojis to even bypass the filters. Others will move the conversation to third-party apps like Discord where there's no monitoring at all. And Roblox features millions of user-created games called experiences. Some, they're completely innocent, and others are disturbingly sexualized, even when disguised behind cutesy little names. There have also been cases where predators used adoption roleplay games to gain access to kids. They act like in-game parents. They slowly build trust and then they start grooming them under the guise of play. What makes this even more dangerous is that other children often don't realize what's happening. It all just blends into the playful environment. And that's what the really terrifying part is. It all feels normal. The chat, the friend requests, the private game invites, the slow trust building. It doesn't look like a threat until often it's too late. There have been so many cases where kids were lured into private chats, asked for pictures, or slowly manipulated over time to trust someone who absolutely should not have been trusted. One parent I spoke to told me how her son met a friend in Minecraft who seemed just like he was a little bit older, maybe 15 or 16. They played together every day for weeks. Then one day, the friend asked if they could voice chat, then video chat, then sent a link to an external site. The messages turned personal and then they were inappropriate. It all started inside a game that she felt was really safe, a game she saw her son laughing with every single afternoon after school. But these aren't isolated stories. This is happening every day, and I don't share all of this to scare you. I share this because you deserve to know the truth, because these games, they aren't inherently bad, but they aren't inherently safe either. Anything with a chat feature carries a risk. Anything that allows strangers to communicate with your child is a potential entry point for harm. At the same time, remember these games can be wonderful tools for creativity, socializing, problem solving, and even learning, especially when parents and guardians stay involved. Our goal isn't to demonize every online game. It's to stay vigilant, informed, and actively engaged, so the benefits can be enjoyed safely. The moderation systems, they try to catch what they can, but most of them are automated. They miss things, and predators, they know how to stay under the radar. Some even train each other in online forums or in underground communities, sharing tips how to groom without being detected. They study the games, they learn the language, and then they find ways in. And I want you to really consider this. Your child might think they're just playing a game, but to someone else playing, it might be a very different game. One with high stakes and horrifying consequences. And remember, predators, they don't rush. They're strategic, and they understand something most parents overlook. Children are wired for connection and for trust, especially in places where they feel safe. Online games provide the perfect environment to build that trust quietly, over time, and without detection. Just think about it. Your child logs in every day, often to the same server and the same group of friends. They start to build routines, familiarity. Maybe they've created a house together. Maybe they've raised a pet, gone on in-game adventures. Those digital experiences feel real, and the people on the other end begin to feel like real friends, maybe even family. And that's how grooming works. Not necessarily in big dramatic leaps, but in small, subtle steps. A compliment here, a joke there, a moment of shared vulnerability. And slowly, the predator becomes part of your child's world. They become someone who gets them, who listens, who offers validation when the real world feels overwhelming. And then when the predator finally crosses a line, maybe they ask for a picture, a secret, or something even worse, your child is emotionally entangled enough to comply. Not because they're naive, not because they're foolish, but because they have been manipulated, and these people are so good at what they do. And that's what is so heartbreaking. These aren't bad kids. They're good kids who never stood a chance against someone who knew exactly what they were doing. You might think, well, there are filters. There's moderators. My child's game has safety features. And that's true. Most games come with some level of moderation. But it's not enough. It's never enough. Filters can be bypassed. Languages change constantly. And predators adapt. They'll use abbreviations, emojis, numbers instead of letters, or move conversations off platform entirely. Human moderators, they're overwhelmed. They can't catch everything. And let's be honest, no algorithm can truly detect tone, intent, or emotional manipulation. Moderation only gives the illusion of safety. And while it's better than nothing, it can lull parents into a dangerous false sense of security. So, the big question is, what can you do? And what does actually make a difference? First, please understand that you can't outsource your child's safety to software. No app, no filter, no setting can replace you. The most powerful tool your child has is not a block button. It's your involvement. Sit down and play the games with them. Ask them who they're talking to. Ask what their friends' usernames are, how they met, what they talk about. You're not prying, you're parenting. And try questions like, what was the funniest thing that happened in your game today? Who do you usually team up with or play with? Has anyone ever messaged you something that made you feel weird or uncomfortable? Or if someone asked you to voice or video chat, how would you feel about that? Use the tools that are available, set up parental controls, enable chat restrictions when possible, and monitor their friends lists. But don't rely on those alone. Make it a habit to talk to your child every day about their online life, not just when something goes wrong, but every day, like you would about school or sports or their homework. And if your child ever stumbles across something that isn't appropriate, like violent or sexual content, even if no one contacted them directly, Talk it through with them calmly. Don't downplay it, and don't punish them for seeing it. Report the server or game if needed, and remind your child they didn't do anything wrong. That kind of reassurance keeps the door open for future conversations. Make sure you create an environment where your child knows that they can come to you without fear, without shame. That's the single most protective factor that you can offer. Because predators, they depend on silence. They depend on shame. And here's something that might surprise you. One of the biggest reasons kids don't ask for help is because they're afraid that they'll lose access to the game completely. They don't want to be banned from Roblox, or lose their Minecraft world, or have their screen time cut off because of something someone else did. To them, speaking up, it doesn't always feel safe, and it can feel like punishment. So they stay quiet. They try to handle it themselves. They delete the chat, they block the person, or they tell themselves it wasn't that bad. All because they're terrified that if they tell a parent, the game will be taken away, or they'll be blamed for something that they didn't understand. And that's why our reactions matter so much. If your child comes to you and says, "Someone made me feel uncomfortable," and your first response is to take that game away, you may unintentionally teach them not to come to you next time. Instead, we want to respond in a way that says, "I'm proud of you for telling me. You did the right thing, and we're going to figure this out together." Model conversations that keep the door open. Say things like, "If anyone ever makes you feel comfortable online, even if you're not sure why, please tell me. You will never be in trouble. I just want to help." Make sure that they know that they can tell you anything. And when you hear something that worries you, take a deep breath before you react. Your child's willingness to be honest with you is more important than your impulse to panic. Keep that line open no matter what. Now, I want to say something directly to the parents watching this who might be feeling overwhelmed or maybe even a little ashamed. Maybe you had no idea these things were happening in your child's favorite game. Maybe you're now thinking, "How could I have missed this?" And please hear me, you're not a bad parent. You're a good parent because you are here. You're watching this, you're learning, and that is what matters the most. You are your child's greatest defense, not because you have all the answers, but because you care enough to ask the questions. Also remember, if you ever suspect that your child or another child is being groomed or exploited, do not hesitate to report to the game's platform moderators. Many of these games have dedicated report abuse tools, and if there's any indication of a crime, like requests for explicit photos, reach out to law enforcement right away. And you can also make a report to the National Center for Missing Exploited Children at cybertipline.org. They handle reports of online enticement, exploitation, and abuse, and can help law enforcement take appropriate action quickly. Resources exist to help you and your child, and taking that step can protect others from harm too. So here's your wake-up call, and your empowerment. To recap the key points in a nutshell, online games are social ecosystems, not just games. Predators go where the children are, using in-game chat and direct messages to groom unsuspecting kids. No filter or moderation systems can fully replace parental involvement. Open communication, where kids feel safe telling you anything, is the strongest safeguard. Make sure you respond calmly and supportively if they come to you with concerns. If a game has chat, it has risks. If a game connects strangers, it has risks. But if a child has you, really has you, fully present and involved, then they have protection. And before you go, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you've noticed while your child is playing a game like Roblox, Minecraft, Animal Jam that didn't sit right with you? Maybe it was a chat message, a strange friend request, or just a feeling that something wasn't quite right. You're not alone in this. Sharing your experience or even your questions could help another parent feel seen and help them to be more prepared. And if you're looking for more tools, tips, and real-world strategies, check out my book, The Internet Safety Guidebook, Protecting Kids in the Digital Age. It's in the description below. And be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It really helps spread the word and helps keep kids safe. And if this video helped you see things differently, please share it with someone else, a friend, a teacher, a neighbor. The more we talk about this, the more we dismantle the silence that predators are counting on. And I'm Alicia Kozak. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.